Not prepared. Okay, let me get to the screen I wanted to sit on for a bit. Cause I want to gap a little bit before actually starting up this full chapter. As I tend to do, but you might see a bit more here, partly because, as I have mentioned, if anyone coming into this has watched me play any of the other chapters in any of the other videos that I have done, I have a strong bias toward Ryoshu. She is my favorite of the sinners. Honglu, prior chapter, second favorite. He is my favorite of the male cast, and Ryoshu is my favorite of the female cast. So I actually had a little bit of, and I was thinking about it a little bit prior to this, and if I can get this image to work. Shit, I may have fucked it up. Wait, yeah, I wanted to go through my actual ranking for the characters because I also want to see, there's a chance this will change both with this chapter and with time, and so this will be a little bit of a record of where these characters are currently sitting, and then I'll get into where maybe do this again at the end of the chapter to see if any of them have moved, if any of the side characters, even though this is Ryoshu's chapter, focused toward her, I think there's always room, and there should be room for other characters to get some moments here and there. It doesn't have to be all of them. It can be one or two having a moment or having some consideration. Sinclair, Faust, and Otis are my bottom three. Before I go deeper in on this, I also think I like all the sinners to some effect. It's just some more than others. Then, in terms of where these three currently sit and why they currently sit there, Otis irks me with her personality, and I think it's gonna be when she gets developed more that I'll actually grow to understand her character, because it feels like she's still trying to be in charge without actually being in charge. Just irked me. Faust is almost of a similar sect of, she has way more information and just doesn't tell shit. And she improved a bit with the warp train and being disconnected, or yeah, I think it was the warp train where she was disconnected from like the Faust network of knowledge. So to me, that made Faust, the sinner, the character we're with, much better, because she wasn't tied to the conglomerate. And I think there's been improvements since then as a character and not just as part of almost a hive mind, I guess. And Sinclair is the weakest of the males. He did move up for me, but then later dropped again, just due to other characters getting more spotlight. And I also don't think he has shown as much post improvement that I'd like to see. He did show a bit more so in chapter 7 with being worried about Don Quixote, keeping an eye on Don Quixote, and being aware that this was Don Quixote's chapter, even when Don Quixote wasn't fucking aware it was her own chapter. So things like that. And in my C tier, I have Heath, Don Q, and Medu. Medu is also kind of in a similar sect of needing more, and I think the only thing that puts him slightly above Sinclair is, I don't know, I like his personality. I maybe also like his IDs more. That's also part of it. That is a role to play in the bias, is, hey, I use him more. I like his IDs more. I'm going to use his character more. So even if I think he still needs more story development, I like having him on the team so much more often that there's a little bit of bias on that front. Donkey and Heath are kind of in a similar boat of their Canto happened, and I'm I don't see them moving up or down. Donkyu's just not the type of character I tend to lean toward a whole lot. In terms of just being the bombastic energy type. And Heath is a little bit, but also he gets downgraded just because of his love interest. And him not giving up on fucking Kathy, cause fuck Kathy. B is Gregor and Roger. Gregor's actually moved up. He probably would have been below Heath and Meru. His chapter is so lacking for him. Being the first character to have a chapter. Which is why I hope, similar to how Roja had the intervallo with time killing time to really go more in, Gregor fucking needs one. And maybe we'll get it closer to when we actually have a conflict with Herman, who is apparently his mother, but like, he needs it more. So I'd really like to see more of Gregor in a future intervallo. And Roja as well moved up partly because of that time killing time. Having that deeper development and more of the questions. And I still think there's more there that hasn't been fully done, but definitely improved her overall. Different areas. Yi-sung? So much improvement after his chapter and his development and being such a more present character. Not just one-off comments here and there. He's actively engaging in the team and having way more involvement and care. That's where I think others who have already had their chapters have not had as much visual, not necessarily visual, but like interactive moments to show their improvements. And as already mentioned, Ryoshu, Honglu, top tier. Will probably not change. I highly anticipate Ryoshu staying and Honglu staying at these points. Honglu, especially now that his chapter's done, and I bawled like a fucking baby. That video will be coming out very soon, because I forgot what the date changed, but that finale of the Canto playthrough will be out technically the day after I record this. And Ryoshu's about to have her chapter. And Ryoshu already had another leg up, because Ryoshu's book, which has been read, or rather short story, I am a little disappointed in myself. I meant to fully read through the Penguin Classics version of the Ryunosuke Akutagawa Rashomon and 17 other stories. Part of that includes Hellscreen. Rashomon is, I believe, one of the more famous works of Akutagawa. There's a few things of notes I've taken, which hopefully I can read my own handwriting because it's in pencil on dark background. But in terms of notes from the Hellscreen, as well as some theories based on the video that I'm going to go into before we still dive anywhere near into the chapter, because I want to say these now before I actually play anything. And to be very clear, I have not played a single node yet. So, haven't seen, haven't watched, loaded it up. It is currently 7:41 p.m. where I live, and the update just kind of went live. Live on 12:30. So, first and foremost, based on the previews, I'll need to scroll through that group chat a bit because I shared my theory there a bit. Okay, yes, this was a mild theory based on the story chapter. And this may not be true, this may be side, maybe ancillary, because based on Hellscreen book, Yoshihide works for a lord doing artwork. the Lord also takes in Yoshihide's child as a, what was it, like a worker, like a lady in waiting, taking the Lord's mansion as a junior lady in waiting, yes, for his lordship's own daughter. So, a rough theory that I started to have is Ryoshu is Yoshihide, in a way. She is the daughter of Yoshihide and potentially has Yoshihide as that family name still. And at least Japanese culture, you would normally call someone formally by their family name. So I am mildly under the idea, based on the story trailer and the mentioning of father, there being to what seemed to be the pointer finger. The Ryoshu that we meet is Yoshihide's child, not who was taken into the Lord's castle in a way. They adopted in, not directly her, so not directly Yoshihide, who was just artist on the side, who attempting to get daughter back ended up with the burns. So that may be a circumvent to some effect. Here's the thing. This is like a 40-page, in this book, short story. There's a lot that they could twist a bit just due to multiple factors of it being a short story, but keeping some of the similar notes and themes. And they do need to cater it to Limbus, so the different fingers being involved is a heavy switch up, because really this conflict is mainly Yoshihide, Hide, and the Lord. The daughter is around with different things going on with her as well. But there's a very minimal cast of really important characters. The primary one being the Lord. I would say a second one that I'd hope to see is the narrator of our story, who is a worker within the Lord's castle, who is unreliable for a few reasons. I think some of it comes from bias of this narrator toward the Lord, looking at the Lord more favorably, even when some of the things described of the Lord's doing are kind of deplorable. The narrator, our biases, is in the way, as well as probably even negative biases against Yoshihide, because there are stories of Yoshihide that potentially are exaggerated, or as well as, I wish I had also reread this one. There's also the monkey Hide. There's a monkey that goes around on the Lord's castle, and the daughter takes a liking to it and helps save the monkey from being beaten essentially by the Lord, or potentially killed by the Lord. But it's a very, like, those are some of the side characters. Another few could be like the Lord's mother, stuff like that. If they swap even the Lord for the pointer and name the pointer finger something else and not directly to be for the Lord, I don't see an issue with that. It's still filling a similar role of a power figure in control of a castle that the child essentially is trapped within. I will be pausing for Hellscreen and every now and again to look through it and maybe find an excerpt. That is 40 pages. It's a lot easier for me to pause and take a look and see if there is anything to add, or that reminds me, if there is something that reminds me of a story within the book, that I can just pause, skim through, and maybe find an excerpt to read through, since it is such a short bit. But overall, I I don't think this first part will have too much. This first part I'm also hoping does well. I am mildly only concerned for this chapter due to the fact that it did not have a leading into Intervallo. While I don't play the intervalos on these videos at all, probably because they're events and stuff, and the story stuff is here or there depending sometimes, or it's just quicker to get through on my own. Oh, and it doesn't usually have like the hard end boss thing, because I know those are usually the more popular videos to share, are those hard moments. But it also doesn't have like the same story arc. It doesn't have the same I don't work with those also because I do these because I've read the book in conjunction. Those don't always have a book connection unless they are directly focusing in on a character. Like there are points of Time Killing Time that focused that I could probably call back to some of Roja stuff because it didn't happen in her chapter after. But that's not a guarantee with all of these. So it's here or there that stuff could come up, where this is more these cantos are more directly going to be referencing their source book. So that's why I more so come to these videos as for the recording. But I'm still stalling. Not having the lead in Intervallo and instead having the Arknights, which I didn't even fully play through, if I'm really honest about that, it is going to have to do a lot of additional catch-up lead into this one. So if this canto ends up being somewhat longer to allow for that, or giving a few additional nodes to have more of that lead in, it could work out. I just don't... I think one of the things that is an issue is sort of the lead-ins to these new chapters. Or the first part needs more setup to get there. No more stalling, I guess. Time to dive in. Let me just double check a couple more things recording wise. I'm really hoping my PC doesn't act up on me, but I think it will hold. Cause I did change a setting that I think was giving it more issues. So hopefully from that it will chill the fuck out. Cause just a pain in my ass if it doesn't. Okay. Let's do it. Alright, Roja was my last one.
둥글게 감겨 시작과 끝이 맞닿아 있는 실타래가 있었다.
There's a coiled thread unraveling a single strand whose beginning is its end. Oh wait, clue. C-L-E-W. Not a word I've heard before. Huh, the lower after corner of a sail. The cords by which a hammock is suspended. Mounts become wefts and wefts and warps that crisscross into a weave. The flow of time spools in a single spot. Go on, read it. Ryushu? From the echo of your first cry to the whisper of your last breath. In the heart of every moment, my eyes catch a glimpse of you. It fucking is. Oh my god, I'm already gonna cry. It was already kind of spouted from the trailer that the whole reason she goes by Ryoshu as a sinner and not Yoshihide is because that's how her child pronounced it. Already fucking confirmed. I swear. No, that's not how you read those letters. Yoshihide. That's how you say it. Ryoshu! It's prettier and easier.
길을 잃은
I like her.
아이야. 돌아오는 방향을 모르겠다.
Dear lost child of mine, should the way back home elude you,
가장 아팠던
follow the thread back to the very first knot that hurt the most.
그 떨림이 멎는
Where the
곳에
quivering
내가
stops,
있단다.
that is where you will find me.
오늘이군요.
Martin? Today's the day.
네, 오늘이네요.
Today's the day indeed. Boss, are you...
잠깐 떨리는
Oh, please don't ask me if I'm nervous. Hohenheim! Oh, right. I forgot he had these chuckle bucks. Is it the same group? I don't remember the names. I remember Hohenheim because, frankly, he's a prick, and I love Faust's. Oh, please don't ask me if I'm nervous. Only ordinary, unremarkable researchers with a particularly low level of confidence in their own material ever get nervous. Your unfinished query has reminded me of the last academic assembly. There was this fellow who simply could not stop their hands from shaking with frequency of 5 oscillations every 3 seconds, even after taking an entire fistful of tranquilizers. What a miserable sight that was. Oh, of course, perhaps the fear that the attendees may not possess the intelligence to comprehend even half of my presentation may source a reasonable level of anxiety, potent enough to make my legs tremble somewhat, but I have been quite relieved of that concern after you reviewed my materials. If both you were able to understand it, then the audience should have no problem following me in the general narrative. At least you won't be dousing the audience chock full of your verbal sedative this time. On another note, have you have any clue as to why our cooperation request for an additional research is still pending approval? LCA R&D team has repeatedly denied our request. Apparently, we're to focus solely on our present research. Rather narrow-minded bunch, aren't they? Do they know specifically who denied our request? The assistant manager who simply could not stop their hands from shaking even after taking an entire fistful of tranquilizers. It seems they're still pretty obvious that they're still carrying the grudge from what you scoffed at them. Is that so? Well, I have no choice but to approve our request after this presentation. Our present research has already progressed beyond the point of satisfaction, after all. Of course, boss, of course. This won't do, though the motivation behind my additional research request was to sate a personal curiosity. I have no doubts in my mind that it will end up benefiting the company's bottom line. Martin, do you have an additional research proposal with you? Even the LCA will have no recourse but to approve it once they see the projected gains from its success. Ah, that. I left it back at the research hall. Didn't think we'd need it today. A successful outcome of that research could also be able to boost the efficiency of our electrical systems. I'm sure the need for more power is a mutual concern. We already have precious little to spare with how much energy our present research consumes. Yeah, we know. We even had to conduct our experiments in freezing cold because we rerouted power from the heating systems to save electricity. Well, I stay toasty thanks to my eco gear, but still. Anyways, I'll go grab the proposal. You should focus on the presentation prep. Oh, shit. Something tells me Hohenheim's research was flawed. Oh my god, I really hoping this can get thrown in his face. By Faust, requesting support. This is LCE Department Corridor YS-4 requesting immediate support. The situation's a code get. Apologies, I didn't wish to so unnecessarily cut him off, but as it seems he passed out, let me be the messenger instead, though I won't bother you with the fancy code speech. The situation here is entirely hopeless, was probably what he wished to say. A few hours later, A good deal of time has passed since we've said our heartfelt farewells to Mrs. June, yet we still remain stuck in Hongyuan.
오늘 출발하는 거
You
맞냐?
sure we're setting off today? Reckon you got the date wrong?
그건 아닌데.
I'm pretty sure I didn't, but even Saud's late, and she was supposed to get Virgil as a pilot.
홍원 밖으로 이어지는 직통도로가 코앞이다.
Right ahead lies the road that leads straight out of Hongyuan. Given Saud's memo telling us to drive here with a truck, there should be no room for errors this time. I sure hope that's the case. When we left Dongwon earlier, the guard at the gate actually asked me what time we'd be coming back. The problem? Probably think we've taken up permanent residence here at H-Corp.
그럴만하지.
Not surprising, after saying goodbyes left and right, not to mention 2 farewell banquets, we're still here. On our butts without a sign of leaving. Exactly. By now, Urge should have appeared out of nowhere with his usual time to move on to our next destination, Dante. Like he always does. Then Sharon would say, off we go, Mephi vroom vroom. It's been forever since I heard her last. I don't think there was ever a time Virgilus was gone this long.
계약 위반에 따른
The breach of contract may have led to an extra workload for him, but even so, his prolonged absence remains unusual.
설마
Everyone's worried about Virgil.
아직도
Hell, I'm worried about Virgil. Where the fuck is Virgil? All this just because he went out on his way to help us? Not necessarily. Well, it's true that the penalty incurred from breaching the contract yet remains the LCC's operation in H-Corp, which he was assisting with, was immediately concluded following Jia Jun's inauguration as the family hierarch. Was he also maybe part of what was holding back some of the hordes, potentially? Like, Jia Kui did part of that to hold back some of the army, but if Limbus also has a stake in who takes, who wins the competition to get the Golden Bow and all that stuff, then he'd then that potentially would be in relation to?
다른 이유는 짐작되는
I fail to think of any other reason apart from that. Virgilus and Jaren would always be away whenever we traveled to a new place, but yeah, never this long. Yeah, because they were essentially just doing, I guess doing some stuff, but I imagine even they finished by the time the sinners finished whatever they were doing.
일로 자리를
Because they were essentially waiting for their return at the bus usually. Maybe he's just off doing whatever he usually does when spending time with Jaren. Everyone turned to look at Faust. At this point, there is no information that can be shared regarding Virgilus' absence. Maybe we can ask Virgilus when he gets here.
그 양반이 자기 목적
You honestly reckon that he'd say a word about where he was?
맨날 어디 가야만 한다.
That bloke only ever tell us where to go, never where he's off to. Verily, another happy day to bring us any of us on his ice cream trips. Save young Chan. Perchance his path of that culinary journey to sample the unique specialties of each district? Be serious for one sec, lass. This ain't a foodie tour. Aside from guiding our path, it may simply be that Virgilus has a path of his own to walk. True. Because Virgilus also has some sort of contract with Limbus. But he's not a sinner, so he wouldn't necessarily be a chapter? It'd be really cool if he was. Slash, I think one of the final chapters should be Dante's. I've got no idea what his path would even look like. We're only here to follow the journey as a guided by Virgilus. We know neither the path he has walked nor the path he seeks to walk. I wonder if he'll ever share his history with us one day. I wonder if this is hinting that we'll eventually get. I know there is the Virgil backstory with Leviathan, but that's setting up for him being here. So an additional, because there is some question of what happens after, I think Otis is the last sinner to have a chapter. in this order. So does it end there? Or will there be some additional chapters to follow that are further expanding now that you've done all the center setups and they've kind of gotten something there? Maybe there's still more to go with Dante, Virgil, whatever the fuck Herman's group is up to, and sort of, because even though things have happened, not everything I think is 100% settled. Ahab's still alive, Damien's staying in his group, Herman's group, Gubo, like there's still plot threads open from each of the groups that in theory you could just do another loop around, but instead it's focused on not necessarily their book stuff, or could even reintroduce more of their book stuff in sort of not from their origin point, but from a later point. Gotta be a version of post game at some point. We're still a ways off. I wonder if he'll share his history with us one day. I suppose he's being his usual absentee self, but that doesn't explain why Sod ain't here, does it?
늦어도 우리가 늦었지. 자기가 지각해서 우리 이렇게 내버려 둔다고?
We've been late plenty of times, yeah, but it ain't like the last to keep us hanging. Maybe there's been a change of plans? When an operation goes dark without warning, it's usually due to an unforeseen variable, not a change of plans. As if to prove Otis right, someone forcibly yanks the truck door burns open. Sod? Holy, what happened to you? Sod stumbled in the truck, short of breath. She was bleeding and covered in wounds, both minor and serious, her eyes glistening with wide anxiety. A broken pistol hung from her wrist. It was impossible not to notice the still fresh gashes and wounds on her. The first thing that caught my attention, however, was the stump right where her left arm used to be. Okay, I feel like we just got Sod back from the Chapter 3 incident in functioning order. And she's now mutilated. Great. Okay, fine. Oh god, that fuzzy back screen. The spider's thread. Ha! We're already getting there. Okay, I don't know who the fuck to bring. Oh, right! I meant to do one of these. Hey, it was Faust!
하지만 의문과는 별개로 지령은 집행되어야만 하죠. 절대적이니 수행할 뿐.
I forgot about the whole new IDs. And since those IDs were syncing focus, that might be the group I bring in. Or I go with the Rupture team. Because the only one who's not Rupture is Medu. But essentially I have the whole Canto 8 set. Though, we do need to switch this, which Ryoshin one we have in. Yeah, let's just go with it. I'm gonna update my syncing team to have you upgrade you later. Probably do my mirror dungeon. But I would do syncing. I guess there's a little bit of... Mainly you two are Slash Wrath. You're only Slash Wrath, but you're not syncing technically. Prepare for battle immediately. I am no longer able to operate, as you can plainly see. I need your help. Sod collapsed to the floor before we even had a chance to ask her if she was okay or what had happened to her arm. Immediately after rendezvousing with Mr. Virgilus, I was ambushed. And the attackers will be here any minute. Where once her resolve had not faltered even in the face of death, a grave look of despair now filled her eyes. How many hostiles? 2. While Mr. Virgilus was dealing with one of them, Virgilus? Color returned to Roja's face upon hearing Virgilus's name. Well then, maybe Virg already's on his way back after wiping the floor with both of them. No, I don't think so. It's Karen. I lost her. They tore off the arm I was holding onto Charon with. I should have never let go. I should have never let that happen. That must not hold on to young Charon. How? What? Solid grimace. Her expression was an amalgamation of guilt and confusion. It was a far cry from her usual collected self. Did they take Charon hostage? Yes, I couldn't stop them from taking Charon. What about Pilot? Pilot was heavily wounded, but the last time I saw him, he was conscious. We should prepare for battle, now. At least our current objective is clear. Executive Manager, first take out the pursuers, then rescue Charon. While the exact motive of the perpetrator is yet to be revealed, we may be facing multiple fronts. I briefly picked up a transmission from HQ while running this way, and a sudden buzz of white noise breaks through the truck's silence. Respond. Saw froze up, staring at the radio speaker. Gregor was the first to act in her place. This is LCB. I read you. What's your situation? Over. HQ Research Facility. Research Facility? Under attack. My darling daughter, I hope you've been doing well for yourself out there. But don't you think it's about time you stopped playing and came home? Utter silence descends as a kindly calling cuts off the blood-curdling scream from the other side. The voice that came through the radio was nothing short of affectionate, and it was easy to guess who the daughter was. The spiders have spun their web, Clock. Web? It's woven so intricately that there's no way around it. That's when I recalled something Lei Hong had mentioned. The House of Spiders. Thinking back how intensely Ryoshi reacted then. Do you think these attackers have something to do with that, Lei Hong guy from earlier? Unlikely. He was just one of my many passing tutors. Then, it's the headquarters for crying out loud. I don't know. The HQ, it's not the kind of place someone can just force their way into. Breaking into a place like that, it's completely unthinkable. What now? Usually I would use my intuition to choose the best course of action and lead the sinners during a mission. But who would have thought that the HQ, which was meant to brief us about the mission in the first place, would come under attack, especially when we were left without a guide? Fine, I didn't expect them to come find me themselves. Once the spiders have spun their web, they tend to wait for the prey to stumble into it, after all. The plume of cigarette smoke lingered for a moment because we're scattering into the air. When I looked at Ryoshi's face, what I saw was an expression of strange euphoria. Ryoshi, is this all just some amusing diversion for you? Sod shot an incredulous look at Ryoshi, who was nonchalantly puffing the rest of her cigarette to ash. Sure is. The long-awaited moment has finally found me. Why wouldn't I be excited? That's just... But don't presume. My excitement for the coming pleasure will not interfere with my effectiveness. I have never once let my enjoyment get in the way of taking the job seriously. Not ever. Not now. You said the assailants will be here soon. Is the one who took the driver coming too? Charon? If anything happens to Miss Charon,
붉은 시선님을 볼
I wouldn't be able to bring myself to face the red gaze. Frankly, I think we'd all be murdered by the red gaze, potentially. This isn't going anywhere. The spiders won't hurt the driver. She's just their bait to lure out the bigger prey. So stop panicking and set us up. It's unsightly. What? The back door of this truck can it connect us directly to the HQ can't speak. Can it connect us directly to the HQ research facility right this instant? No, wait, it can, but to use the backdoor portal that leads straight to the HQ, I need to verify the security code written specifically for each coordinate. It's going to take some time. Gives us enough time to deal with your pursuer. As Saad navigated through the vehicle's machinery with her remaining arm, the sinners all began to keep watch on their surroundings, weapons at the ready. So are we sure it's a good idea for us to head to the HQ? I feel like we're walking ourselves into a trap here. What if we requested assistance from Dong Guanyan instead? That can be a solution, yes. However, as this concerns our HQ, resolving this crisis with help from a wing, even one whose leader we are on good terms with, will require an enormous favor to be repaid. Your decision, Executive Manager. We'll head straight to the HQ research facility as soon as Saad opens the portal. It wasn't hard to intuit that Ryoshu's turn had arrived, given her evident excitement. If so, the back door leading to the HQ, which Ryoshu intends to use, should be the path we're meant to take this time. Better prepare yourselves. What awaits us without a single shred of doubt is hell. And there, in its steps, lies something that's always been waiting for me. Strums above us, walking the vehicle's roof. We have been found. Oi, then shouldn't we get out there of the truck before it caves in our heads? No, Pico Singularity protects this truck, remember? Something that's supposed to keep whatever's inside safe. We should just lie low in here until... Are you sure about that? I can see a teensy crack in the ceiling. That makes no sense. The ceiling should be elastic enough to bend under the most physical impacts instead of cracking. It's true that the exterior of the vehicle transportation device utilizes P-Corp Singularity. That is why this truck is more spacious inside than it appears from the outside, and has a good defenses against external forces. However, unlike the experimental model we boarded in P-Corp, this vehicle appears to be more affordable model used flexibly as a shuttle for the before team's deployment. That is said that for the Singularity technology to perform at a competent level, a higher level investment is required. Budget models, even those of Singularities, can still end up being countered. So they cheapened out. And the assailant is not one of the nurse fathers from the House of Spiders. If it were one of them, the first shock would have shattered this ball into pieces. I suppose kicking off with the top dogs would have made for a rather bland story progression. The nurse fathers? Wait, you mean the same people that lay hung? We'll have time for speculations later. Executive Manager, the ceiling's about to cave in. Go for the kill the moment they get inside. Ooh. It looks like a thumb-like outfit. But different than Lei Han and his group. Because it has the same, like, red, cream, or maroon motif. At the ready, man. Wait, don't engage. Though we were readying ourselves for skewer the intruder the moment they stepped inside, we had to immediately backtrack on that idea when we saw who he was carrying. Cat on. She is only unconscious and breathing still. I see. You cut Saul's arm off so that you could have something to track her down with. And she has gone straight to seek help from her comrades. It was indeed the correct decision for us to wait and see how she'd react. The intruder continued, glancing towards Thud. As if in response to that, Ryoshu placed her hand on her scabbard. Ryoshu? BDOK. They won't dare hurt the bus driver. So don't make a fuss, Clock. Huh? What do you mean she's okay? Ryoshu ignored Sinclair and rushed toward the intruder, her scabbard cleaving through the air. Oh, parried that, did you? Have you no regard for the hostage's life? You won't dare let her die unless you're planning to incur the Red Guide's wrath. Like Ryoshu said, the intruder was only defending himself against her strikes without harming Charon. Just as the other sinners were stepping up to join the assault, I intended to face you one at a time, as the propriety of honorable combat dictates, but unfortunately, since I cannot let you take her back until my master arrives... The intruder gestured with his hands, and strange, bizarre things dropped through the ceiling. With a thump, I must resort to using some borrowed weapons. Are those distortions? Or monsters of some kind? No. I think they're people. His master, Virgilus, is supposed to be handling whoever that is. The color most illustrious must be deterred from wielding his full might on account of young Charon's capture. When we rescue Charon and book it to HQ or whatever, that'll let the guy go all out. Yeah, that seems to be the best shot we have at the moment. Still, let's be careful and prioritize Charon's safety above all else.
저희에게도 이런 힘을 베풀어 주시다니 마음씨가 넓은 분이실까요? 아, 실수로 주셨더라도 상관없어요. 한 번 베푼 이상 납장 불입이랍니다. 이 앞에 숨지는 자, 너 하나 살려보지 마라.
승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹었어.
This will only start to get bad once we hit, like, level cap issues. I'm a little pissed that I'm noticing they have red coin stuff.
그간의 전투 경험이 쓸모가 없진 않았군요.
But we're still fine.
적합한 조치였습니다.
How was that struggling? Ryoshu, how are you struggling? I guess I have to do that.
단테님은 매번 기발한 발상을 떠올리시네요.
Shit. Interesting.
탑공창.
아, 여기선 이런 공격이 잘 먹히는군요.
받아볼 텐가.
Shit.
목을 떨고 한놈 쪼아먹었다. 다음
회풍.
Still so good.
성공이야. 칼은 신나. 노력할까?
Not gonna lie, I haven't used Teeth and Sinclair a lot with these ideas. Subs kinda neat.
할까봐 떠올리는 한군.
이 풍진
Hat
서점에서 힘껏
fully
살아가느라
off.
수고 많으셨어요. 이제 모든 짐 놓으셨으니 그 끝에 고요한 휴식이
닭은 달려들어. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 저 해충들을 도려내라. 염화!
무얼 잘못했는지 아는 것부터
푸름을 틔울 수도
시작됐어.
Nice.
쓰러져? 그래. 그렇게 시원하게 처리하니 그런 맛이 나는군. 일 처리는 빠르게 하는 편이 덜 답답한 법이지.
기쁨이란 건 이런 사소한 일에도 슬며시 따라오나 봐요.
음.
모두가 노력한 덕분에 업무가 일찍 끝날 것
기꺼이.
같은 지금처럼 말이에요.
회풍.
그렇게 서 있으면 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 쓰러져? 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 깔끔하게 물었군. 또 한 줄 길을 남겼군.
God.
핏물 진 길일 뿐이지만
Ah.
세월이 지나면 홍호는 그제야 알게 되겠지.
Side complaint.
이 홍로가
These experience rewards for chapters could be slightly higher. Because frankly, if you already need to be level 55 to do this and the level cap 60, this is nothing. It takes so much more to get something of value.